Have you experienced the fear of not being enough? Well, if you're a human being, you very likely have. So today I want to talk about working through the fear of not being enough, which has been a big challenge of mine in my life, and I know many other people have mentioned it to me as well. And if you stay until the very end, I have an extra point for you then. Before we dive in, I want to mention as always that if you want to connect with me more on social media, you can find my links in the show notes below. Recently, I caught myself almost giving up something that I actually quite enjoyed because it was getting tough. It was getting very tough. And I wasn't quite managing the stress and the emotions that I could have been. And I had to realize that I'm human at the end of the day. And I always, realize stuff and adjust. And I like to share what I've learned and what works, mainly, right? And I started judging myself on how I was performing, and I was being really tough on myself. I was kind of going back like I would have done a few years ago. And then I was like, almost gave it up because I actually talked to the company that I work for, and I was like, look, guys, I think someone else could possibly be in charge. I'm in a little bit stressful place. And they were like, I don't want you to go. And then I really thought about it. And it's not because they said it. I talked to my team, they didn't want me to go, and I genuinely loved it. But I was like, right, I would just like a bit more emotional support in this area because I'm finding it really tough. And I think I know I genuinely love this, but I'm just finding it quite hard emotionally. And basically it's like running a sales team, and then I also do like project management as well. So balancing that's always a challenge, but sometimes it can be quite tough. So I was like, I caught myself almost quitting, and I didn't, because I realized I did love it, but it was just that fear of not being enough, of not performing, coming up a little bit too strongly. And when I started speaking to a friend about it, and I was like, I do genuinely love it, that's when I had the realization. That's why a power of a conversation can be super, super helpful. Our BS, our bullshit, can be really, really get us sometimes. And it can come up with excuses like, this isn't a right fit for me. This isn't right for me. And that's often just covering up the fear of not being enough, of not performing at something. And that's why people procrastinate and jump from thing to thing. You see this in the personal growth world so many times, and I've been guilty of it many times. But we're like, this isn't right for me. And actually it's because we're finding that it hard. We're getting to a level where we just hit a wall and we're not developing. But if you keep going, you smash through that wall and can go. But people don't like the feeling of not doing something. So therefore we quit if we have the opportunity to. Now, if you're in a job and you need to stay there, that's often why we stay, because we need to pay the bills, right? But things sometimes I found that I'm passionate in, I've like in the past given up because I was like, maybe it's not right for me. But that's actually my fear of not being enough. So I've learned about this over time. And like I said, I had to catch myself from it the other day. And this is what I found really useful to work through, this fear of not being enough, so that it doesn't hold me back in life. Maybe you can relate to this. Maybe the fear of not being enough has caught you in situations in life and it's mentally, emotionally drained you. Well, let's go through a few points. The first thing is list all the amazing things you've done in your life, right? Even if they're small things, like even if you have to start with like, you won an award in like early in school, or that's not a small thing, or you were kind to someone the other day. Just think of small things. And then as you start writing, your brain will find more things, right? Now, I'm going to challenge you to write at least 20, but 50 if you can. If you want to write more than 50, amazing. And every single day, just read a few of these things and really feel them into your body. Be like, yes, I did do that. That was amazing. Because what that does is make you realize that you are enough. The second thing, celebrate every single outcome when you're putting in effort. So I'll do sales calls. This is like, I work in sales, and it can be very, very tough, particularly to people who are very cold to your work and they're booking in calls. So the sale doesn't go through, you celebrate if you put in the effort. You go, yes, I made an attempt to help that person on the call. And if you do sales from a place of love, to help that person rather than just trying to steal their money or take their money, then that's a completely different thing, because some people unfortunately do that out there, right? So celebrate every outcome. It's like, yes, I did that. You go and ask someone out on a date and they say no. Yes, I made the effort to go and speak to that person. How courageous am I? And obviously, if they say yes, you're even more happier, right? Because what this does is encourage you to take more actions. And it's like, you, our system likes pleasure. And when we celebrate, we get pleasure, right? And then the third thing, just take small actions. Sometimes the fear of not being enough, it's like too big a jump to suddenly like jump in front of a big audience when you're speaking and you're scared of speaking, right? Maybe you speak to a few people. I use this example quite often. But just break it down into smaller steps, and then coming back to point 2, celebrate every time you take a step. Okay? I've got a final point for you. Just want to mention again, though, that if you want to connect more on social media, you can find my links in the show notes below. So my final point for you is get yourself a coach, someone who can keep you accountable, someone who can really challenge you, because a good quality coach is going to ask you tough questions. My coach does this all the time. I'll like be saying some stuff. He goes, "Is that really true?" And I'm like, "Yeah, you caught me." And I'm very open for feedback. I'm like, "Yeah, I am talking rubbish," like all that kind of thing, right? Because we do that as human beings to hide our fears a lot, I found. And it's always an ongoing process. It's never ending. But a good quality coach can really push you. They can challenge you. They can ask you tough questions, right? So that would be my final point for you as well, to really work through the fear of not being enough when it's popping up secretly. So I appreciate you for being here. You'll improve your other people's lives by becoming the best you. And remember to lead with your heart and not with fear.